Okay, what do you think is the most difficult thing for the majority of people in this country to understand about race and racism?
I think for me, it's just the concept of reparations and why it is important. So recently, I came across an interesting person talking about that subject, and it was a response to someone asking why reparations were necessary. And he went into great detail explaining how systemic racism, it's not just, racism isn't just something that happened, slavery was something that happened and now it's over and there's no longer a need to pay for it. The systems that slavery and racism established continue to this day, and therefore there is a persistent need for evening of the field in the terms of reparations, or in the use of reparations.
Okay, Lizzie?
Okay, for me, right now I'm in American Indian history, and I think it was just the concept of like, with slavery, it wasn't just whites that used with slavery, it was also Native Americans using Africans as slaves, and vice versa. There were a lot of natives that were being used as slaves, and it's still within the society today to see that natives are lower and Africans are still lower. Like, there's still consequences of what happened beforehand, even though it's definitely not as big as it was beforehand, and we're still moving on as a society. But there's still people that view them as less, especially with the Native communities and them trying to fight for their land rights and everything. They just see them as like not people because they aren't as civilized as we are. And there's just a lot of debates going on about that and us taking over everything. So, yeah.
Okay, how were y'all's thoughts and beliefs about race and racism formed?
For me, it's definitely a wide variety of sources. My parents were definitely influential, and coming from a mixed background, that definitely had a influence on how I feel about race and racism. But I also do like to keep my eyes and ears open for new viewpoints, because I could be wrong. And if something makes sense, then I like to listen to that. So I do get some of my views from media if it makes sense too.
Yeah, same with me. I kind of have parents from different backgrounds. Like, my mom is white, but my dad grew up in Ukraine, and so he grew up being Jewish and going through all of that. So it really opened my eyes to the Jewish community about everything that was going on then. And then just looking out on social media, there are some sources that are trustful for that and kind of seeing what's going there. And then I was personally had a lot of friends like different ethnicities when I was in high school, so seeing what they were going through as well, and like being able to experience their side of stuff, like going to their houses and hearing their parents talk about things too. But it was mostly with my dad, like just everything he experienced when they were moving to America and seeing every different type of, like, hearing him talk about every different type of race and how they reacted to certain people. So.
What's one race-based topic that you wish more people talked about or understood?
I think just the hardest part about having a conversation about race is some people start taking it personally. So I think this is somewhat tangential to the question you asked, but the most important thing to understand is that in order to have a productive conversation, yes, it is deeply personal to a lot of people, but there's a lot of times when a lot of language is very callous and it's very hard to talk around something. It's very hard to get your point out if you're talking around something. So there needs to be some sort of consensus on appropriate language to use so that everyone can have an understanding, because misunderstandings make it a lot harder to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same thing. And I guess just otherwise, like, just seeing a lot of it through, like, point of views. A lot of people don't really know, because you can only hear so much, but you can't ever really experience certain things. So when someone's talking about it, it just doesn't, like, it's really hard to process exactly what it's saying. And then there are a lot of people who also have misinformation about certain races, and so when they talk about it in stuff. Like they're
stereotypes and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
they go based off of stereotypes, and it's like no one really some people don't know the actual truth of like what is going on and certain things. I mean, and it's really hard because there are like in the races there are people who are more like into like I guess just more committed to it than not. Like there are some people who are Jewish but they don't practice Judaism, like my dad, and so he knows about it, but he also doesn't experience like he himself like isn't too serious about certain things. So it just really depends on I guess your involvement.
Okay, thank you.